Hey, it's Hannah. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, we do videos on creepy and disturbing things here, and this is part 3 of our little Reddit series. You guys really seem to like the first couple of these that I made, and they are super fun. You know I love a good series on this channel. The first Reddit post that we're going to get into today is about a woman who finds out that her boyfriend has been like tainting and poisoning her food, except what he was using to do this is definitely not what you would expect. This video is supported by a sponsor, so we will roll to that, but I'll be right back with you guys. You guys know that I struggle in the kitchen. I've said that so many times on this channel. You know that I hate cooking with a passion, and that leads to me getting more takeout, and all that takeout leads to me just not having a very balanced diet. Just not the healthiest. So that is why Hungry Root is perfect for me and my lifestyle. The best part about it is that it is just so customizable. Like every aspect about it is customizable. It makes it so that I can create a balanced meal for myself, but they offer recipes that are so simple and easy to throw together that I don't dread making them. So Hungry Root sends you a box full of groceries, and you can let Hungry Root pick, or you can pick every single thing in your box yourself. I like to describe their meals as good throw together meals. Like a lot of the meals that you can choose from are very, very simple, easy to make, quick to put together, really quick cleanup, and they're just so delicious on top of that. You don't have to make the meal though, since it's just a box of groceries. You can mix and match what they send you with the stuff that you already have in your kitchen to make a different meal. Hungry Root offers also just literally everything. You can get fresh produce, high quality meat and seafood, but they also have tons of options for grab and go snacks, desserts, vitamins, supplements, kid snacks, and so much more. I also just feel like every time I go on the website, there's something new to browse around at, and it gets me excited for my next box because it just keeps me from getting bored too. Hungry Root is the easiest way to eat healthy. The first 100 people to use my code HannahTheHorrible40 will get 40% off their first grocery order from Hungry Root. Use the link in the show notes right below this video, or scan the QR code on the screen right now for 40% off. What are you doing? So let's get right into this first story. It's kind of a long one, and I beg you all to just kind of bear with me while we go through the whole thing before I give you my thoughts on it. Not that my thoughts are going to be very shocking, but it's just so bizarre. So just a quick trigger warning, and the poster put these trigger warnings herself: food tampering, psychological, emotional abuse, domestic abuse, and also a warning for those who have a weak stomach or are currently eating, because this will gross you out. The post was by an account called smallbean197, and the post starts, "I found out my partner has been putting slugs in my food. I don't know how to forgive him." Right off the bat, that sentence is scary for multiple reasons. The biggest one being that she was trying to figure out how to forgive him. I cannot imagine a scenario where you wouldn't do anything but break up with this person, but there is a lot of context, so let's go. I, 22, a female, have been with my partner, 24, male, for 4 years now. I have never known him to do anything like this, but I noticed he started acting a little strange around a month, maybe a month and a half ago. He started putting fruit on the floor in the garden, and I thought it was a bit weird, but he said that he was feeding the mice family that have nested in our shed, and I thought it was sweet, so I helped him do so. Anyway, he started being really nice to me around 2 weeks ago and was making me food, baking me cakes and stuff, which he never usually cooks either, so I was happy he found a hobby. I did notice sometimes I felt sick and dizzy after eating, and I just put it down to lack of sleep/hormones. Anyway, a friend of my partner's came into my work today. I work in a cafe, and said he needed to speak to me when I was free. I was free as there wasn't any customers at this time. He told me that my partner had been collecting slugs from the garden on fruit he has been putting out there and putting them in my food, blending them up. He even sent this friend of his pictures of a bag of slugs he had collected and the picture of blended slugs. I told y'all you shouldn't eat for this one. Brace yourself. It doesn't get better. I feel really sick to my stomach. I don't understand why he would do this. This is so out of character for him. I asked him why he was doing it, and he accused me of snooping through his messages, which I would never do. And he got so angry at me for, quote, not being able to take a joke. I feel disgusted. I love him to pieces, but I don't understand his way of thinking just now. Am I overreacting? I don't know what to do. I feel lost. Here is her first update. Edit, I am receiving messages telling me to kill myself. Please don't do that, as I am highly sensitive just now. That's not relevant to the story, but you're going to see it on screen because I'm putting this post on screen. And I know that no matter what you post on the internet, like, everybody gets death threats. I get, like, that's just the internet. I mean, I don't get it. It's ridiculous. It's heinous, but also, like, everybody gets them. You put yourself out on the internet, everybody gets them. I've gotten them. Everybody I know in the space has gotten them. Like, it's just like par for the course, unfortunately. But for this poster in particular, I am so confused as to why somebody would do that, because what? She's a victim in this? I don't understand at what angle you would think that she should then, unalive herself. So whatever. Okay. Disgusting. Moving on. I went to urgent care last night / the early hours of the morning and waited and was finally seen around 6 a.m.-ish. I had some tests and I have a high level of metaldehyde in my blood. I was kept in for monitoring and I have some ulcers in my stomach. I was aware of this anyways, as I was hospitalized about 2 months ago for a burst ulcer. Originally thought it was stress, but they now said it could be because of the poisoning. I could have an infection of some kind as my temperature is high, but they haven't found anything that could be causing that yet. They have checked my heart and it is fine. I am due to have heart surgery this year though, but they're delaying it due to the ulcers and infections and the fact that I keep getting sick, which is okay. I have an appointment to see my cardiologist on the 20th of April. I contacted the police and wrote a statement and was asked some questions. Anyone who knows me in real life, please don't post mine or my partner's name, as the police said it would destroy the investigation. Not the exact words they used, but I'm unsure. I was in a daze. My ex refused to say anything to the police or to me. However, he did say he would speak to his friend and only him. He then spoke to me. I was not alone. I was with a friend and his friend too. He confessed to doing random experiments on me / tests starting a few months after we moved in together. It started with spitting on my toast, and then a week later he replaced my propranolol, my beta blockers, with salt in the empty capsules. I wanted to add he was my medication holder, as I have a history of S-word attempts, so he handled my meds and gave them to me, and that's when he thought it would be funny. He also admitted to these things: swapping my Linda McCartney vegetarian sausage with real meat. I have IBS and struggle to digest meat, so I became a vegetarian. He also replaced my corn nuggets with the real ones. I just want to interject here that, like, she did not have to justify why she needs to be a vegetarian. Even if you're just a vegetarian by choice or a vegan by choice, and your friends are aware of that and they're preparing food for you, your friend or your partner or whoever it is so disrespectful and cruel to replace somebody's what they think is something vegetarian with a meat substitute without telling you to see if you'll eat it. That's egregious behavior. Like, I just want to say, she doesn't have to justify that with, like, I have IBS, so it really harmed me. That's horrible. But even if she didn't have IBS, that still wouldn't be okay. That's messed up. It gets worse, though. One of my pet giant African land snails went missing in summer, and I assumed it escaped since I left the lid open on their box. But he said it had died, so he scraped it out and put it in my curry. I vaguely remember the day he did this, and he laughed whenever I went to eat the curry, and I got really paranoid, so I put it in the kitchen and stormed off. He then brought it upstairs, and he told me to taste, and I did, and I realized he added loads of chili, and he said he was laughing because he put chili powder in it, and too much came out. Now, I think he must have put the chili in to cover the fact that he put my snail in there. Okay, stopping here again. Can you imagine? So not only is the slug thing gross, the spit thing gross, and whatever he is doing to her, this is her pet. I don't care that it's a snail. That's her pet. If your pet, any of your pets died, and your spouse or partner secretly did this, essentially, I'm not saying, probably not a big pet, but any small pet that they did, your fish, your hamster, like, Nobody sees how unbelievably messed up this is. I mean, they do, but like, this poor girl is gaslighting herself into thinking that she's overreacting. He also said he rubbed my toothbrush on the toilet, but then washed it, as he thought that was too far. I don't care how many times you wash my toothbrush after it's touched the toilet or been anywhere near the toilet, that toothbrush is going in the garbage and I'm getting a new one. Washing it doesn't help. Oh my God. I feel like this is all a dream. It just seems too dramatic to feel real. I am unsure what is happening on the legal front. He says he didn't know why he did this and that he does love me truly and that he felt compelled to do it, which I understand as I suffer from OCD and get compulsions/impulsions, and that he really loves taking care of me and he feels it's his purpose and he didn't mean to cause serious harm. He promises he never did any of this to our animals. I think he could just be stressed, as I have mental health issues that could have caused something in him to break from too much stress. I am really sad and sorry for those who I caused concerned. Too long didn't read. My partner has been secretly feeding me slugs, been to the hospital, some damage but nothing too serious, I hope. There are then a couple photos linked of the slugs that she found under the sink, which skip to this timestamp if you don't want to see these photos. Photos are coming. Photos are coming. Click ahead if you don't want to see them. Okay, here's the photos. So that is the original post that the OP posted. This post that I'm reading off of is actually a follow-up that somebody posted to like post the whole thing in one post, because the original post has since been deleted. And so somebody else posted not only the post, but blessed us with some follow-up. So she also responded to some comments. So I'm going to read those as well. In the comments, many are asking if she's gone to the doctor. She has. And it is revealed that he did do more than feed her slugs. So somebody said, he promised he never did this to any of your animals, but your dog recently had lungworm and he admitted to making you eat your pet snail. He replaced your heart medication with salt and tampered with your food knowing that you have IBS. There's nothing, quote, funny about that. And he endangered your health and those of your pets. Stress doesn't make anyone do this. He is not safe for you or your pets. These are not the actions of someone who loves and takes care of you. They are cruel. Please stop blaming yourself. I understand your struggles with both mental and physical health and the need for someone to love and care for you. But if you value your life and those of the animals you adopted, he can never be trusted again. Honestly, slow clap for that comment. That I don't know who left that, because like I said, it's copy and pasted from a different post, but like, slow clap for that comment, because that is exactly what I was thinking, that this poor woman is like gaslighting herself. I think because she really wants this all to not be true, or I think she wants to be overreacting because she loves this person, which I totally understand. People doing egregious things, if you love them, you're kind of brainwashed. I don't mean any offense towards this poster. I myself have been brainwashed. And it's not like they put a pendulum in front of my eyes and were hypnotizing me. It's just that love, the hormones that make you feel infatuation for somebody and love for somebody, brainwashes you. So I understand, but I really hope that she figured out that this is not normal behavior, and that nothing like her stressing him out and her blaming herself for him getting stressed out and then like snapping into doing this to her. I feel so bad that she ever thought that about herself, because no loving partner would ever do this to you. Okay, the post goes on to say, somewhere during all of this, OP posts this comment. So this is OP. Hi, he was diagnosed with ASPD yesterday and admitted everything to me and how I was his way of looking normal to the outside world. He manipulated me by giving me everything I wanted. Pausing really quick here just to chime in case you don't know what ASPD is. That stands for antisocial personality disorder. That is the formal and correct way to diagnose someone who the society and our media calls it sociopath or a psychopath. That is actually not the correct term. I didn't even know that. I learned that from Mickey, who kind of educated me on why those terms are no longer a thing and why it's actually harmful to use those terms. So I do try to stay away from those terms now, even though I didn't used to. But the correct diagnosis is ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. It is characterized, not a mental health professional, but it's characterized by, lack of empathy, and then often manipulating, exploiting other people in order to get what you want. Also saying, just big disclaimer, I'm not saying everybody with ASPD does that. A lot of people with ASPD get help. They go to counseling and they're not bad people. They actually work through it and try to form relationships in their lives like normal people. I don't even really like understand all the realm. This is probably one of the most complex personality disorders ever, and it's speculated that, you know, most serial killers have some form of this. So just saying, like, it doesn't mean that everybody that is diagnosed with this is automatically a bad person or violent, for that matter. A lot of them are not. A lot of them are living amongst us. You wouldn't even know because they've gone to so much therapy and worked on themselves. Okay, off my soapbox, continuing her comment. So she goes on to say, he manipulated me by giving me everything I wanted as a BPD sufferer. Again, if you don't know what that is, bipolar disorder. Love, affection, compliments. He began testing me emotionally at first with cheating to see how I would react, but I forgave him and then began with food and stuff to see how long until I got sick. I'm still baffled. The person I knew, I never really knew at all. He is a psychopath and he gives ASPD sufferers a bad name. He knew I was vulnerable due to my mental and physical illnesses. He became my carer, but was torturing me at the same time, and I was unaware of any of this. He rescued me from an abusive situation and then put me into a new one. That is how he works. I love this comment that she left because it does seem like she is, after he got diagnosed, all the puzzle pieces started coming together, things started clicking for her, and it does sound more in her tone now that she is starting to understand that this is not normal, this was not her fault, this was him having a mental illness that had not been dealt with and not gotten proper treatment for, and that's what he really needs, is a lot of therapy and a lot of work on himself. Okay, OP has a later post that says, I recently left a weird relationship where my partner was contaminating my food, etc. Anyways, ever since I've struggled to eat, I moved into a ground floor flat, so it sounds like they broke up, thankfully. So grateful that she was able to do that for herself, because regardless of his mental illness and the help he needed, she needed to do what was best for her. And he, like somebody else said, he could never be trusted around her or their pets or future children, for that matter, ever again. Even if he does go get help, that's tainted, you know? Anyway, she said she moved into a ground floor flat and sometimes I'll find slugs around the house and I'm terrified of them. I'm sure she is. Can you imagine not being terrified of them after that? I keep throwing food away because I don't know if the slugs have gone on and I'm scared of getting sick. I can't cope or breathe right now, and I've tried everything to stop slugs getting in, copper tape, salt, non-toxic pellets, but they still somehow find their way into my flat. I feel like nature's tormenting me. Any advice? I have tried speaking to my doctor, but they won't listen, and the doctor said it was a good thing as I was overweight anyways. I was just discharged from the mental health team I was currently on. Gross. Our medical system is already super fat phobic. So that just really, she was the victim of abuse and the victim of a crime, and she has clear PTSD from it. And that's the doctor's reaction. Well, it's good because it's making you anorexic. Like, what the? Okay, and then the last post in here, she updates and says, I am alive. Hello, everyone. Sorry for those who I didn't get to message back. My messages have been so full. I am alive, but I have been sick with coronavirus. Thank you to those who reached out to me. You all made me feel less alone. I hope everyone is well. And this one does have a happy ending because this person is still posting on Reddit. I think the last time was a few months ago. Emmeline is her name. And yeah, the last time she posted was just 2 days ago. So she seems to be okay. Now, one more thing I want to say about this post before we move on to the next Reddit post is that this man could have killed her. Eating slugs is not actually harmless, in spite of a lot of people thinking so. I think people think because we have escargot, which is cooked snails, French delicacy, if you will, that a lot of people think that because of that, like, snails are edible and slugs are edible. And yeah, it's disgusting to eat a slug. Most people would find that disgusting, but most people would think, not think much of it, think it's harmless. A great example of this, we've talked about this on the channel before in the Do Not Research iceberg, the Strange Deaths iceberg, I believe it was. There was a teenage boy who ate a slug off the ground, a raw slug, on a dare. His friends coaxed him into it, and he, again, most people would think that's harmless, and his friends did not think he would do it, but he did. He was like, yeah, okay, bet, and he ate the slug, swallowed it. This teenager's name was Sam Ballard, and this slug carried a deadly parasite called rat lungworm disease. Once he came down with symptoms, it was too late and he became paralyzed and very disabled. Sam ended up later passing away, all from eating a slug one day with his buddies, thinking that it would be funny. And I'm sure at the time it was funny. So I'm just saying, this woman is incredibly lucky that nothing bad happened to her. The only thing I can think of is that because he most of the time probably cooked the slugs, because he mushed them up and then cooked them in the food, I would guess that that would hopefully kill the bacteria and any parasites in it. But still, absolutely horrifying. And he's lucky he didn't kill her too, because otherwise he'd be in prison. Okay, this next Reddit post is a lot shorter than the one we just went over, but this one really gave me chills, and I would love, I mean, I don't think there is any explanation that could be given for it, but it just like actually gave me chills, actually made me so confused. So I'm going to read that one to you and let's talk about it. This one was posted in r/conspiracy by a user named Listen Silent. This one was also deleted, I believe, and it's from the archives. This one was posted on October 5th, 2012, and I really need you to remember that because the date is that it was posted is very important. Okay, it starts. About 2 weeks ago, my mom called me to see if I had a bug out plan, which is interesting because we have never talked about anything like this. We have discussed politics, religion, and various other issues, but nothing along the lines of what do we do if the shit hits the fan? Her reasoning behind this is that her best friend of 37 years called her and said that her daughter and son-in-law were called into a private meeting on base regarding a probable evacuation scenario of the East Coast. Son-in-law is in the special forces, apparently high up. I think the base was in Fort McPherson in Georgia. From what she said, the daughter and son-in-law were brought in and made to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that they would tell no one under the penalty of treason what they were told during the meeting. They were told that in 4 to 6 weeks, this was around September 20th, the East Coast would experience some type of disaster that would cause it to be underwater. They were also told to make a go bag and be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. That is about all I have. This does come from someone I trust and someone who trusts her daughter and son-in-law. I don't see any reason for them to make it up or freak out over a routine or drill. From what my mom's friend says, the military does not do these types of drills without warning, that it is just a drill. She has been married to a military man for 20 years. On a separate note, one of my best friend's brother, who was in the special forces, went AWOL about 2 weeks ago, went home to see his family in Texas, then disappeared. So that's about it. Anyone heard of anything along those lines? I have read that the East Coast is in for one hell of a winter, but that's all I've heard. Thoughts? So remember, this was October 5th, 2012. The news got to them on September 20th, saying that in 4 to 6 weeks, something bad is going to happen on the East Coast, probably in the form of a weather event. Well, Hurricane Sandy was October 22nd to November 2nd, 2012. Almost exactly 4 weeks after this warning went out in the special forces. Here's what Wikipedia had to say about Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy was an extremely large and destructive Category 3 Atlantic hurricane which ravaged the Caribbean and coastal mid-Atlantic region of the United States in late October 2012. It was the largest Atlantic hurricane on record as measured by diameter, with tropical storm force winds spanning 1,150 miles or 1,850 kilometers. The storm inflicted nearly $70 billion in damage, equivalent to $93 billion in 2023. The storm inflicted nearly $70 billion in damage and killed 254 people in 8 countries from the Caribbean to Canada. This hurricane killed 254 people and was a category 3. Now, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe some people do think this was just a huge coincidence. And the most obvious explanation that comes to mind is that it's the special forces, the military special forces, and perhaps upper levels of military have way more. I know they have way more information than we do. Duh. Like, obviously, I don't think that's a conspiracy. But is it possible they have some weird weather technology that can predict weather better than other weather technology? It just seems really weird. Like, why is this top secret? And if they knew that this was going to happen, if they had the radar, especially that was 12 years ago, almost 11 years ago, back in 2012, like, why wouldn't they want to warn the world? Like, it could have saved a lot of lives. I just don't really understand why they wouldn't have warned the world. Maybe during that time there was warnings, but this person said that all they heard was that there was going to be one hell of a winter, that it was not so specific in the weather of like what was happening. So it's just really bizarre to me that the special forces were able to predict this and then also warn particular people about it, specific people about it, is very weird. I don't know. This post creeps me out, and I would love some explanations because I have a weird feeling that maybe this is one of those things that I'm jumping to conclusions and there's a very obvious explanation, which I'll figure out the second someone leaves a comment about it explaining to me. But you have to admit that's weird, right? But again, if they know, why didn't they warn everybody? Could have saved so many lives and money and destruction. And also, it just also gets you thinking and remembering that the government and the military, they have so many secrets that they don't tell the world. I think it spawns a lot of I think the government likes us fantasizing about Area 51 and aliens and stuff because they want us to be focusing on those kind of conspiracies and not on the actual true shit that's going on in there. Hopefully I don't sound crazy, but okay, let's move on to the third one for today. This one was posted in r/confession and it was posted on January 11, 2013. The user was named Crumple It Up and Throw. I pretended to be a guy online and a woman moved halfway across the country to be with someone that didn't exist because I was too scared to tell the truth. I've never ever told anyone this, and I have never even written it down. Warning for a wall of text. Sorry, this is so long. I just have to get it out. The too long didn't read is basically the title. From late 1999 to early 2001, I pretended to be a man online and had several women that I communicated with daily through email, nearly all of whom wanted to have a relationship with me. I created an entire backstory for this fake man, and it got to the backstory was so consistent that it seemed real even to me. I found older women in their late 40s/50s through dating sites and just by contacting random strangers through instant messenger. I was never flirty with them, never sexual, nothing like that, but all the women I emailed with were vulnerable in some way. A couple of them were unemployed and living with family. One of them was marginally employed but suffered from poor health. Another was recently divorced. Another was just looking for some sort of adventure in her life. I liked the attention. I liked always having emails waiting for me. I liked it. I liked that I was someone who these people admired. It eased my loneliness. At the time, I was a 14-year-old high school student stuck in a new town in the middle of nowhere with no one to talk to. I didn't like people my own age and had no real interest in the stuff teenagers are normally into. Like I said, it was never romantic. I'm a straight female, and on a few occasions that a woman would make it clear that she wanted a romantic relationship with me, I ended it. I told them at the time that I was only looking for friends and that I thought women made better pen pals. I gave them so much bullshit about women being easier to talk to, open to new ideas, etc. But really all it was that I was afraid that if I had a male pen pal, he'd eventually realize that he wasn't talking to another man. I would take stories from my own life or stories I had heard, spin them a little, and make them part of this man's background. I planned out what college he'd gone to during what years, what towns he's lived in, what jobs he's had, what countries he's traveled in, what businesses he had owned. I made details about his childhood, even right down to what the wallpaper in his childhood bedroom had looked like. I had an entire timeline of his life so that the story would be consistent from person to person, so that I would never be caught in my own lie. His life was a reflection of what I wanted my life to be at that age, and so I was sort of living through his character. And it worked. People believed me. Like I said, I found some of these women through dating sites, but I had no intention of being romantic with them. Whenever one of them contacted me through the dating site, I always had an excuse as to why I didn't want a romantic online relationship. This profile is sort of old and I'm seeing someone right now. I really want to get to know you first, etc. A few of them were surprisingly fine with just being friends. It's just that dating sites are a good place to find people who are willing to open themselves up to another person. Remember, it was the early 2000s before there was a lot of pen pal sites. I happily hid behind this persona online and eventually began instant messaging every day with one woman named Pat. Pat was going through a rough time in her life. She was deeply in debt, unemployed, living with her sister, whom she despised. There had been a domino effect of shitty happenstances that had occurred in her life over the course of a few years that had landed her in that position. Pat was in her early 50s, and so I really enjoyed talking with her. She was smart and funny and open to talking about all the new ideas that were fermenting in my teenaged head, which I pretended were coming from a 50-year-old something dude who was undergoing an emotional awakening after a lifetime of emotional suppression. She didn't have anything better to do, and I, being a now 15-year-old teenager on summer break in a town where I had no friends, didn't have anything better to do either. Pat lived in Minnesota, and I told her that I lived in southern Florida near the ocean. She loved hearing about what the ocean looked like that day. I knew how to access webcams of the ocean. She did not, so I would tell her what the waves looked like. I even sent her some shells from a beach when I vacationed in Florida late that summer so that the postal code stamp would be near where I had told her that I lived. I made up historical facts to tell her, which were completely false. I went through relationship dramas as this man that she advised me on, and I told her of spiritual awakenings that I'd experienced. She told me things she said she never told anyone, etc. I found pictures online of a random nobody and sent those to her, claiming it was me. I found other pictures of a random house and sent those to her, claiming it was my home. We were good friends. It's just that I wasn't who she thought I was. Pat very nearly caught me a few times because sometimes she wouldn't believe what I'd said, and she would tell me she didn't know if I was real. I always managed to smooth it over somehow. However, she wanted to talk to me on the phone, and worse, she wanted to meet me. In fact, by the end, she insisted on it. By that time, she had started working again and had some money. She also wanted out of her situation and start over. I don't know why I did this, but eventually we got to talking about her coming to live with me at an entirely fake address in southern Florida. We planned it all out meticulously and had known each other for a year. I even told her that I had a friend who was a business owner and would give her a job. This was the only time I spoke to Pat on the phone, when I was pretending to be this friend with a business, and I interviewed her for a job that didn't exist in a small business that didn't exist. She wanted to speak to me, the fake me, on the phone, and somehow I always managed to beg her off, telling her that my phone was broken, which was ridiculous since most internet still ran off the phone line in those days, and I would call her soon. Soon, I promise, soon. I would lay awake at night telling myself that I had to tell Pat who I really was. The woman was about to uproot her entire life to be with someone who didn't exist. But I felt like I was in too deep, and a big part of me really believed this lady would connect the dots and wouldn't really go through with it. I was also 15 and scared of getting in trouble. With who, I don't know. The day came when she was going to fly from Minnesota to the airport near where I, quote unquote, lived in southern Florida. We had one last instant messenger conversation with her very excited about her new life, and with me assuring her that I would see her in just a few hours, that I would be there to pick her up. I'd have a sign and balloons and everything. I gave her a made-up phone number to reach me with. I agreed that she could stay at my place for a few weeks until she got a couple of paychecks under her belt and she could find her own place. It was like I was just watching a stranger typing those words to Pat, like an autopilot, like it wasn't real. She had told me that she had never taken this big of a chance, but that for once in her life, she wanted adventure. Adventure like the kind I, or rather my fake persona, had had in his life. She was tired of being scared of life and wanted to embrace it. Those next several hours were torturous. I tried to act normal at home, but it was impossible. Again, I really believed that she would wise up and call it off at the last minute. Unfortunately, she didn't. A day later, I got an absolutely irate email from Pat demanding to know where I was. The phone number had connected her to dry cleaners. The business didn't exist, according to the Yellow Pages. There were 3 more emails came throughout the course of the next 36 hours. She was writing the email from a library and only had enough money to stay at a hotel another few nights, and then she didn't know what she was going to do since she didn't have enough money to get back home. She said she had never taken a leap of faith in her entire life and that she trusted me because she just needed one person in the world who she could trust, and she believed she was a worthwhile human being after all of the shit that had happened to her in the past few years. She berated herself for being an idiot, for being misled, for going with her heart instead of her brain. It tore me up. Look, I realized that both she and I made mistakes, but it tore me the hell up to know that there was a lady out there somewhere, someone I considered a friend, despite everything, that was going through such turmoil and that I had caused it. Her last email was one last attempt to get in touch with me, pleading to please answer her. She must have realized by that time that I wasn't real, but was hoping I could somehow help her out anyway, but there was nothing I could do. I never answered. In fact, I shut down that entire email address and put that entire episode behind me. I don't know what happened to her. There were so many red flags she should have seen. The fact that I wouldn't speak to her on the phone being the biggest. I think she was desperately looking for someone in her life, and however temporarily I managed to give it to her. Maybe she just wanted to believe, and so she ignored her rational mind. But you know that episode of The Simpsons where Bart writes fake love letters to Mrs. Krabappel, who believes that they're from a real guy, and how torn up Bart is when he realized how upset and humiliated Mrs. K will be when she realizes she's been duped? That's how I felt. I let this whole thing go too far, and I must have really hurt and humiliated someone. I feel terrible about that. It wasn't right. I shouldn't have done it. No excuses, period. Every time this memory pops in my head, I get that cold feeling of shame all throughout my body. I don't even totally know why I did all this. Pat, wherever you are, I am sorry. Too long didn't read. I pretended to be a guy online, and a woman moved halfway across the country to be with someone that didn't exist because I was too scared to tell the truth. Ooh, so many thoughts on this one. The hardest part about this post, as I bet a lot of you are feeling right now too, is that the quote perpetrator in this situation was a 14-year-old and then 15-year-old girl. I mean, it wasn't an adult. Like, it wasn't like a 25-year-old person doing this to an older woman, manipulating them into all of this and then watching them move, manipulating them into moving, promising they'll be there to pick them up at the airport with a sign and balloons. Oh, my heart breaks for Pat. This is so sad. Like, that's different, right? Somebody with a fully developed brain doing something like that and then not feeling remorse for it, just doing it, like thinking that's hilarious that they uprooted someone's life like that. That would be a different situation, right? But this girl was only 15. Was it wrong? Absolutely. Like, absolutely. It's so hard to know what we would all do at 15. The only like real criticism I have for her in spite of her age is that she should have ghosted this person when they started talking about coming to see him, the 50-year-old man in Florida. Before it went to that point, definitely should have it would have been way better. Like, she did end up ghosting this person in the end after the damage was done. So why didn't you just ghost Pat like a few weeks before when she started like touching on like, I really want to come see you. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my life. I'm going to come move with you and stuff. Like, you should have just ghosted at that point. You should have just ghosted. And that's probably my only like real criticism of, in spite of her age, like she should have known better than to do that. But otherwise, I do respect this person, for lack of a better word, for at least coming to terms with this. At least, like, obviously they feel very guilty and this follows them. And I understand that. Like, You know, like I always thought about like if I ever did something really bad, I would feel way too guilty to keep it to myself. And I think we all kind of have that about the past, like little things that we look back on and cringe about. And we were just like, that was so terrible. Like, why did I do that? Why did I say that and stuff? And so I can relate to this guilt that she's feeling. But I just also understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. Because when I was 15, I was I did not move for anybody, but I was definitely catfished by somebody who was claiming to be a guy. And this is so embarrassing. I feel very vulnerable right now, but I also got catfished by somebody who I didn't have a lot of friends in school, and I definitely never been looked at twice at by a guy in school. And you know, when you're a teenager and your hormones are raging and you really want a boyfriend, right? And I like really wanted a boyfriend in high school, but it never happened. And it didn't happen till after high school because it wasn't that kind of place. There wasn't anybody to date, and guys just didn't like me in high school. Like, there's not much to it. They just didn't, nobody was interested in me. And so I met this guy online, and we had this whole community. That's a whole other video thing. But this person that said, I think he said he was 16 or 17, I can't even remember, but told me, like, sent me pictures, made phone calls, left me voice messages where she literally just talked in a deep voice. I know, and it tricked me. Like, I feel so yes, I know. This is embarrassing, like I said. However, before it got too far, she finally came clean and told me, and we actually ended up being friends, and we're still friends I mean, we're not friends. It's not like we still chat, but we're still like friends on Facebook to this day. Like, I've seen pictures of her wedding and stuff. Like, I know that she, and I have a few friends from that time that I'm still friends with on Facebook, you know? So it's like, it turned out okay, but I just remember that feeling of being duped, and I can't imagine like actually putting your entire life into the hands. And then, yeah. I will say, though, this woman was, I hate to say it, I get it. She was very vulnerable and everything. And the early 2000s internet was way different than it was today. But I have to say, she has to take some responsibility for the fact that she literally dropped everything and flew across the country for somebody who did not verify who they were. I don't think that means she deserved what happened to her, but I do think she needs to take a little bit of accountability for that, because she was the adult in this situation, whether she knew it or not. And this teenager pretending to be an older guy was just a teenager. And I mean, I think you just have a little bit more when you're a teenager, before your brain is developed. I think you just have a little bit more leeway in a lot of things. I don't know. I like to, if we're going to give children so much protection as we do and as they deserve, as I think we should, like, we want to protect their innocence. We want to protect them from predators. We, teach about stranger danger and stuff like that. Then I think we also need to give them a little leeway when they do stupid shit like this. But all that being said, of course, it leaves you with wondering what happened to Pat. I wish we had some sort of update from Pat. I wish Pat had come across this post and realized that it was her and made an account of her own and like explained what happened after that, because it sounds like she was on the way to being homeless, at least for a while, because she was staying at a hotel and told her in the emails that she was running out of money. So I just really, really hope everything worked out for her in the end, because I don't know how she didn't end up homeless. So just heartbreaking all around. I think this is definitely an everyone sucks here situation. All right, friends, so that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like the video to help the channel. Check out our sponsor. Check out the patron, that will also be down below, all those good things. Speaking of patrons, we have a new top tier patron that just joined this month, so shout out to Charity. Thank you so much for joining the patron, especially at the alien tier, and all the other patrons on the screen right now. Thank you guys so much. I will see you in the next one.